Good to chat with you again after Unhuman.
I
And
know. I just saw your face.
I know, long time no chat. um, and Even though this isn't the same kind of fun as Unhuman, it is still quite the ride. I did not know what to expect and had a blast with Gone in the Night. What about it though really drew you to the project?
Yeah, I got the audition for it. I had to read the script that night. I was working on Unhuman when I got this audition, actually. And I remember thinking, oh, it's a thriller kind of horror film. Like, is that really what I want to do right after doing Unhuman? And I read it and I was like, yep, that's it. That's the one I want to do. And I read it back to back twice in a row that same night because it was so well written. It was so interesting. And you just like, it just kept you guessing the whole time. Even when I was reading it the second time, I was still like, is that really going to happen? That's crazy. And I really love the character of Greta. She is kind of unlike any character I've ever played in the past. And so all around, like the people involved, the script, the character, it was all there for me. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this movie.
So Greta is really quite the interesting character to watch as the film plays out, especially when you see her between flashbacks and the present. What was that like for you, really exploring these different layers of her as the film goes on?
Yeah, that's what I really loved about this film, was that we all kind of got to play in a way like two characters. It was very duplicitous in a way, and which is funny because I think that in reality most people have, like two different sides to them. And with Greta, she falls into more of the extreme. She's like, she comes off as this tough, confident badass, and I think throughout you kind of you can't tell if she's good or bad necessarily, and like what her intentions are with even the people around closest to her, like Al. You don't know what Greta wants essentially until really the very end. And yeah, it was just like really interesting. It was funny because Eli and I talked a lot about just like how Greta and Al would look. What would they wear? What music do they listen to? How did they meet? All these things, because they are a very specific set of people, and we wanted them to feel very alien to the other characters who, are living or from a different generation. We wanted them to look at this younger generation almost like just like they were aliens essentially, which is sometimes me. I look at the younger generation, who's grown up with TikTok and Instagram, and I'm like, I'm so far removed from that world. Like, I don't hate on it at all. I don't understand it. Like, I still have a hard time trying to figure out how to use TikTok. And so, you know what I mean? There's just like this, like a cultural difference between these four generations of people that we follow. And yeah, I forgot the question. I just started rambling.
No, you're good. That's perfect answer. And yeah, I agree with you though. I think that theme plays out really well in the film through your various characters. And with that said, I mean, you share most of your screen time with Owen and John. And so what was it like really building that chemistry with each of them off camera before bringing it into each scene?
It was so immediate that it was, it was so lucky. So before we even went to Casadero to start shooting, I think I had about 2 weeks of prep in between Unhuman and this. And immediately, one of the first things I wanted to do was meet Owen. And he was so like game. He was like, yes, when, where, you tell me. Turns out he was my neighbor at the time, like lived very close. And we just like sat in my backyard and talked about these characters, about our lives, and what are these characters into? What should they look like? We were playing around with the idea of like bleaching our hair blonde and, so many things. But yeah, with Owen, I felt very safe and supported. And I felt like because of that, we were able to be uninhibited and make like kind of weird choices with our characters and know that we were in good hands, and that has a lot to do with Eli as well. And John Gallagher Jr., I cannot sing his praises enough. I love that man so much. He is the nicest, funniest, most talented person, and so grounded. And I feel like I've watched so many of his films, like Hush. I've seen him in Westworld, and also Short Term 12. I thought he was really, really good in that. And so I've always been a fan. And so to get to work with him, I was intimidated, but he is really the coolest person. And he just makes you feel, like just understood and seen. And yeah, they were so great to work with.
Well, that's awesome. That's always what you want to hear from the set. So that's amazing you had that.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't always say that. So I'm glad I get to say it right now.
Yeah. And so a lot of the people I've talked to, especially John, for this film have like really sung Winona's praises for being involved in this film. And so what was that like for you when you first heard that she was going to be in it, and then when you saw her on set?
Yeah, I remember sharing a moment with John at the beginning at our very first table read, where he and I were just like, and he was like, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm kind of just freaking out together. But she is so talented. I mean, I grew up watching her. She's completely iconic, almost feels like otherworldly. But then you meet her and she's just so real, so grounded, so kind. And she really guided me through this whole process. There are a couple scenes where I go head to head with Winona, and I was scared shitless. Like, oh, sorry. I was very scared.
Yeah.
And she, essentially just like held my hand through it and supported me and made me feel great about myself. And yeah, she's one of my favorite people that I've ever acted with, and just like one of the best people to be around. And I mean, she's also one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this movie. She was already attached, and it was like, are you kidding me? Like, how are you going to not want to do a movie with Winona Ryder? So
Right. That's one of the biggest draws for any movie, really.
and also Dermot. I'm obsessed with My Best Friend's Wedding. I know, don't get me wrong, I know he's in plenty of other amazing projects, but like I was always obsessed with that movie growing up. And he also has like a great like character on New Girl. So yeah, I've always loved Dermot as well.
It's funny. I actually, when I interviewed him, I specifically brought up New Girl for my final question.
It was so good. I don't know why. It's funny because when I booked the movie, I remember my roommate and we were like, let's watch him in New Girl again. He's just so charming and charismatic and adorable. And like, you can't help but like fall in love with the guy. Even his character in Friends. I mean, he's just so great and so prolific and like such a well-rounded actor and human. He's funny. He's weird.
I got a little bit of that when I talked with him, but yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah.
So since you did mention going head to head with Winona, I feel like I would be remiss not to bring up the twist of this movie, the big reveal. What was that like for you when you were reading it, and what was your initial reaction when you saw that?
Whoa, like what? And what's crazy is that like, so I went into reading the script with zero context. I didn't even look at the sides for the audition yet. I was like, I'm just going to go in blind. I just want to see what this thing is about, and it just really threw me for a loop. And I was so impressed and so excited. And the twist at the end, it's like, you really do. When I first read the script, I saw Greta one way. And, I thought, how can this character not prevail? She's like the most like, the strongest, most confident character, most capable character, it seems like, manipulative as well. And so to see how it ends is really, really interesting. And like, I think probably satisfying for the audience to watch, because as much as I think people have fun with Greta, she's not really a good person, which is fine, because I don't always want to play good people, and there are plenty of not great people in the world. But it's just like kind of satisfying in the end, I think. But yeah, she was a really fun character to play. Kind of, I was like doing weird shit while like shooting. I was like listening to a lot of noise music, and it was an 8-hour drive for me to go to Casadero, and I wanted to drive. and I was listening to true crime and noise music. And by the time I got out of the car, and I think I was drinking a can of Monster, and by the time I got out of the car, I was like wired. I was like, I'm a different human being, you know? And it was fun to kind of indulge in that, I guess.
That's the perfect prep, really. Those three things right there for a role like Greta.
To play Greta. So true.
And so filming that final scene, I mean, we finally get to have all of the main cast together in that moment. What was that like for you, finally getting to be in that room shooting with everybody?
It was great. Luckily, the way it kind of played out was like we were all in there on Owen and my last week, right? So those were the last couple of days actually of shooting, was in the container. And it was great because we all just really got to play off of each other. And like, I mean, it was like a little chaotic, don't get me wrong, but I think we all kind of thrived on that. And it was fun. And we really all were so supportive of one another, even though, like, you know, it's hot in there, or it's a long scene. It's a very long scene, so it can be quite taxing. But it was really fun. And I just loved that when we were the movie is like, you know, it's out of order. You keep getting hints from the past, but they don't fully line up, and you're trying to make sense of this puzzle, right? And in the end, to finally see it all like line up is really satisfying.
Yeah, I love the nonlinear nature of the story, and I think it really adds to the thrills of it. Well, that's all the questions I had, really, Brianne. So thank you again for taking the time to chat. I greatly appreciate it. I did truly enjoy this movie, and I look forward to spreading the word about it.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me.
Absolutely. I hope you have a great rest of your week.